Hello, everybody. Let's see if this works. You guys will have to let me know if the audio does not work or if there's an echo or anything. So, meet Kiwi's adorable babies. This is all 7 of them. I finally got in and was able to put in a clean blanket and weigh them. I had weighed as many as I could before, but it's been a difficult line to walk between stressing her out too much and making sure the kittens are okay. So I've just tried to do the best that I can. And so we have four tabbies, 1 tabby tuxie, 1 panther, and 1 black and white tuxie. So the tabbies have collars on because there's no way for me to track the weight gains otherwise, and it's unfortunately super important in the first couple of days, especially with this whole longest birth ever. I need to be able to know who's gaining weight and who isn't. So I have been tube feeding quite a bit. I had to tube feed everyone around like early this morning. And then I only had to tube feed 3 of them just now. So I think that's good. I think we're making some progress. The first 3 are definitely doing well. They are all gaining weight. Trying to find my spreadsheet. Yeah, so the first 3 to be born have all gained weight, and seem to be very vigorous and healthy. So that's good. And then we started to run into trouble. So she went into the nest at the last minute, like probably 15 seconds before the first kitten came out. And didn't spend a lot of, really was focused on cleaning up herself and kind of the fluids around the birthing area and not so much the kittens. So it was a little stressful, but she did get to them. And I was quite concerned that if I went down to help, I would scare her out of the nest, and then, she would just have kittens anywhere. And so I did not go down there. And then she stopped labor for several hours after the first 3, and she stayed in there with them for probably an hour. And they were nursing, and she did a little bit of pottying, and then she left the nest and went back up to the ledge. And I could see that there were still kittens moving around inside of her, so I knew that she wasn't done. But we have had interrupted labor in one of our cats, and I know foster dad John has also had it, and it does happen. So I wasn't super surprised that she was had stopped labor. And then so I was watching, and she went to the litter box and was kind of restless and moving around and having some contractions. But then I noticed something moving in the litter box and ran down there. And so she had given birth to number 4 in the litter box. And as I was coming down, number 5 was on the Legos. And so I grabbed both of them and ran out of the room. and number 4 was quite cold and covered in litter and had litter in her mouth, and so it wasn't a great start. Number 5 was still warm, still had placenta attached, still was in the sac, had not had anything cleared, so that he could breathe. And so I got that all handled. Got the incubator. Thank you, mods. The incubator totally saved the day. Got that set up, got that in there, because you have to be really careful when you're warming hypothermic kittens. You have to do it slowly and carefully, and you can't feed them until they're warm. And so the incubator makes it so much easier to warm them and know you're not overwarming or underwarming, because that can be like really tricky to find that perfect balance. And then what else? It's been like just like hours. We're at like 21 hours or 22 hours or something that I've been just focused on this and trying to prevent calamity. So anyway, luckily the incubator came in handy. I mixed up some formula to have ready for when they were warming up. I had to unfortunately take their temperatures, which is horrible because they have such tiny little bums, and the thermometer is like so big, but it's really the only way to know if they're at a safe feeding temperature. And if you don't feed them at a safe temperature, if they're too cold, then they can't process the food, and it can actually be fatal for them. So again, it's something that we have to be really careful about. Yeah, I was like cursing the internet outage when everything started and looked like it was going well. And then as the night progressed, I was like, oh, thank goodness everyone isn't having to watch this, because it was just so, it was so awful. I mean, I think we're like in the best position possible now, but it was, as it was unfolding, it was just hours and hours and hours of like, just, oh, like worst case scenarios. So anyway, adding to my trauma and anxiety about kitten births, all the things that can go wrong. I know that it does happen for them to give birth in litter boxes. Usually less experienced moms, but we've never had that happen. In fact, I think we've had all of our kittens born in the nest. You guys will let me know if I'm not remembering, if I've blocked some other kitten trauma. But anyway, so that was 4 and 5, and then it was several more hours, and I was hoping that maybe she was done, and that 5 was, I was like, okay, 5's manageable. You know, I'm a little concerned about the last 2, but 5's a manageable number. And in the meantime, Kiwi had not returned to the nest since she left several hours prior. So this was probably around 2, 3 in the morning. I think, I'm trying to remember when they were, I think midnight is when number 3 was born. And they did get some milk bars, so I was feeling okay, like leaving them a little bit longer and waiting and hoping that he would go back into the nest. And then when I went down and saw that there were 2 that were not in the nest, and I grabbed them, and then it took quite a while to get them warm. It took probably 2 hours to get them warmed and fed. And so a lot of us in rescue, when we find a cold kitten, we just stick them down our shirt So I have like, I have not had time to shower yet, so I am still finding like placenta encrusted litter encrusted placenta bits, like falling out of my shirt or like stuck to my arm or in my hair. It was harrowing. What else? So yeah. So then I brought. So when so I brought them back after they had been warmed and fed, and I was feeling somewhat more comfortable, putting them back in the nest. But Kiwi still hadn't been back to the nest and seemed very resistant to going back to the nest. She had stuck her head in like once or twice and just looked at them, and then just went back up to the ledge. And so I had to add like additional heating pads and stuff to make sure that the kittens in there were going to maintain their temperature. So then like nothing, and then finally it was probably around 5:30 or 6 in the morning. I was not liking how long it had been since the first 3 kittens had eaten. So I got them all and fed them and weighed them and then put them back, and was able to put in a clean blanket because he wasn't in the nest. And she unfortunately had was having diarrhea and all of the indignities of pregnancy of any species that happened during birth happened. And then, so I got them back in there. The nest was relatively clean, and I left again, and I was just watching, and Kiwi still didn't return to the nest. And so I started thinking of like, okay, what are like my methods of last resort? Because these kittens have a mom. We ideally want mom to take care of babies. So how can that be facilitated? And then what are my backup options? Like if I have to keep going in there to tube feed them every couple of hours, that's going to be disruptive to her, and that's not going to promote bonding. So I went over and blood typed Sushi, our nursing mom next door, because I was thinking that she could potentially, actual cat milk is better for them than formula. And if they could nurse a little bit, then I felt like maybe it would make them stronger. They would maybe get some pottying, like a little mom time, while Kiwi sort of got her bearings. And so Sushi is type B blood, which means that if I had just put her with the kittens, they would have all died. So thank God I blood typed her, because that would have been a fatal mistake. So that ruled her out as an option for the first, let's say 36 hours to be safe. Although after 24 to 36 hours, it would be safe for her to nurse the kittens, but it's that first 24 hours that you can't have a type B mama cat nursing type A kittens. So this is a very long rambling story. So anyway, that ruled that out as like a stopgap measure. And so in case you don't, I know a lot of you know this because we've been through this many times, but type B is a super rare blood type, except for our cats. For some reason, we've had quite a few type B cats, but type B is generally pretty rare. They don't stock it in the blood banks. And so it's not something that you would ordinarily think to check for. But anyway, we've learned now that that's something that we can rule out. But the odds of her being type B were so tiny. It's just crazy. I think at that point I was probably like just crying, just like crying, because I was like, why is it like, why does it have to be so hard? Anyway, yeah, so then I was like, okay, well, what's the like, what can I do here to get Kiwi into the nest and long enough to actually bond with the kittens? Like, the kittens need to nurse in order to help her produce hormones that will help her bond with the kittens, that will help her milk production, that would stimulate contractions. And so without that nursing going on, those hormones weren't being created. And so I think that kind of contributed to some of the problems. So anyway, so I decided that I was going to, as like a last ditch effort, just kind of towel Kiwi off the ledge and put her in the nest and kind of close her into the nest for, you know, a period of time, just to see if she would settle and the kittens would nurse on her, and then I could like breathe a little bit easier that the kittens were getting some colostrum, which has all the good antibodies in it, which is really important for kittens. So I don't want to tube or bottle feed them for the first 24 hours, because then they miss out on all those antibodies which they need. So anyway, desperate times. So that's what I did, and she sat up, like totally ignored the kittens for like an hour probably. But the kittens like kind of figured out that she was in there and got most of them latched on and were nursing, and she, even though she was totally ignoring them. And then I went down after about an hour and opened the door just so that she could get out if she needed to go to the bathroom or whatever. And because she wasn't settling in, and I was like, you know, continuing to cry. and then miraculously, she didn't. I expected her to immediately like dash out the door and like up to the ledge, and she didn't. She stayed in the nest, and she laid down, and then she started to have contractions again, and I was like, no, 5 kittens is enough. We don't need any more kittens. But there were 2 more kittens in there. So I think the last one was born at around noon, possibly. Well, maybe 12:30 or so. About 16 hours after she initially went into labor. Look, I have placenta stains on my pants. That's from what happened next. So anyway, so she had number 6, number 7. I may or may not be. Well, no, I think I will post. I think I will post. There's a clip, and you guys, like, it's really probably only for the most brave of you. I don't know, but it's number 6 coming out, and like preceded by a now I can't think of the word, like an explosive burst of diarrhea and tapeworms. And then number 6 came out like with the next push, and then at the same time another burst of diarrhea. So for number 6, and I mean, it was like, you guys, I think I'm certain that this was the most dramatic. It has a good ending so far, but it was definitely probably the most dramatic and like bizarre and like everything that can go wrong will go wrong type of birth that we've ever had. Brienne named the tapeworms Trevor, and I do have also pictures of the 7-inch tapeworm was the biggest, 7 inches long. This tapeworm. There were 3 of them in that burst anyway, but 7 inches was the longest. So I will post that on Tiny Tapeworms also. So I was just watching that, and you know, like, just at that time, it had been 16 hours, 16 hours, no sleep, just like one thing after another, you know, like crying, feeling sorry for myself, feeling sorry for her, not knowing what to do, you know, like all of these things. And then the tapeworms. And then like I couldn't go down there because I didn't want to stress her out. And so there was literally nothing I could do except just watch the tapeworms. They were luckily dead because they were out because of deworming. So yes, it was a very 2020 worthy birth. So yeah, so the tape, and then I didn't even see number 7 came out right after that, and again, she wasn't super attentive to getting the, you know, mouths cleared and stuff. So, but I could see them breathing, and I knew that if I went down, I was going to risk her leaving again, and then I would have to give formula to all of these kittens, and it's not a great situation. So the risk versus the reward of going down and intervening, I just was trying really hard to be patient, because cats do this all the time. They do have instincts. They often get it right most of the time, probably. And number 6 did actually, like, immediately he was freed from his placenta and his poop chariot, and beeline to the milk bar. I didn't have a good view of number 7, but I saw that he was breathing, and then so then I was watching, and it was hard to see because I had the lights like really, really low, and the blankets were kind of scrunched up at that point, and there was like a heating pad in the way, and so I couldn't see all the kittens, and I didn't have collars on anyone, so I was concerned about number 4 and number 5, who were 2 of the 4 tabbies. And then I saw number 7 trying to get to the milk bar, but it looked like the placenta was still attached, but it looked like movement was good and everything. So anyway, so then number 7, I was watching, and I didn't see number 7 for a while, and then Kiwi shifted, and I saw little number 7 face not moving, and I was like, ugh, I don't want to go down there. She's settled. Like half of them were nursing, and then I just was watching, and I just knew I had to go down, and so I went down, and I just like grabbed him out of there, and he had been trapped she had rolled onto the placenta and then rolled on him, and he was like smushed sort of between the wall and her, and like trapped with the placenta, and so I basically had to revive him. These are all the things that we always say like never happen. And anyway, so that was not great. But I think it's a boy. I don't trust my my determinations on some of the genders, so I'm sort of probably switching back and forth. But anyway, he was not doing well when I brought him out, and I was able to clear. He had still fluid in his respiratory tract and everything, so I had to. So I took care of that, and stimulated breathing, and his heart rate started to decline. His breathing became less labored, and his color went from like purple to pink, which is good. So I don't know what the prognosis is after something like that. Oxygen deprivation. I don't know how long he was in that condition because I couldn't see, and I think it's hard because I know that I can't go down there unless it's an emergency, and sometimes it's really, you guys know, it's really hard to tell when you're watching if something's an emergency or not, or if you're just being like overly anxious, which I obviously tend to be. But anyway, so that was like terrifying, but he did recover to the extent that I felt like it would be okay to put him back in there, so I did, and then Kiwi did not appreciate that and gave me some whaps and bites, and so I backed off because that was totally fair. And then I've been watching since, so that was I guess 5 hours ago. No, not longer than 5 hours. I mean less than 5 hours ago, but I don't know what time it was, maybe around 2 is all that happened. And so anyway, so I've basically just been watching and obsessing over like getting collars on the tabbies so that I can see who's nursing and who isn't, and getting them all weighed. Yes, and worrying about Dave, because Dave was fighting the big fire that knocked out the electricity, that knocked out the internet for the last 2 days. So he was there all night fighting this like once in a lifetime massive fire, and then had to go back again last night. So it's been like it's been roller coaster around here, but as of right now, I wasn't even going to go live at all with these guys today because it's been so just traumatic and like terrifying and awful. But I was happy that I was able to clean up the poop and get a clean blanket in there, and get collars on the kittens, get them all weighed, and I only had to tube feed 3 of them. 7 is a lot. It's a lot of kittens, especially if the mom is not there as much. So we'll see how that goes. And I think, so Kiwi's on the ledge again. I think she would much rather have had all this happen in the wild, even though she would have probably not had a great outcome in the wild. She would have felt comfortable there, and that's where she wants to be, clearly. So she's up by the window. So I think I'm probably going to have to return her to the nest at some point if she doesn't go back in there on her own. But I am letting her take a break because she has earned a break. She's been working very hard. But she seems like she's doing okay. She's eating well and drinking, and she has started to care for the kittens. Like, she's done a little bit of pottying. I'm helping her out with that, and she is letting them nurse more, and so that's good. So I am hopeful that she will, now that hopefully all the kittens are born, she will settle in and kind of be able to focus more on the kittens. So, poor Alex. Okay, so anyway, that's the long, rambling, horrifying story of the last 24 hours. Yeah, so I'm hopeful that I'll be able to maneuver Kiwi into the nest enough that she will sort of get into the routine. But if not, we may be able to find another a foster mom cat for them, or if not, between Brienne and Gwen and I'm not sure if Brooke's I'm sure done some tube feeding, but and bottle feeding. Suzanne's amazing at bottle feeding. So I like to tube feed them when they're very tiny because we can control the amount that goes in and we know how much they're getting. And it's fast and efficient and safe if you know how to do it properly. The risk of aspiration is like very, very small compared to bottle feeding. So I just feel more comfortable doing the tube feeding because I know exactly how many calories they're getting, and I know that I can get it into the stomach and not risk them aspirating. And then as they get older, once they're more capable of a bottle, then we usually switch them to a bottle. But anyway, so that's the super long story. But yeah, they have all had some of the colostrum, I think, except possibly for number 7 and the blue collared tabby. I'm not sure about. Although I think he has maintained his weight, so that would suggest that he has had some, which is good. So the only one really I'm not sure about is number 7. I have done a tube feeding, and number 7 is currently under the snuggle mom because I wanted to make sure that he or she was going to stay warm to digest the food properly. I think you can just see his or her head to the left of the black and white one, just above the pink collar. I think that's. Oh, so anyway, that's all I got. I don't know that I would say Kiwi doesn't have interest in them. I think she's had an incredibly difficult, stressful labor and delivery, and she's probably overwhelmed, and she doesn't want to be here, and so she's just shut down a little bit. So that's why I'm hoping that if I can keep putting her with the kittens and they keep nursing on her, I think that will help. I think that will help with everything. She needs to keep having like little contractions to get all of her organs back in place and her uterus small again, and helps with all the hormones and everything. So So I was like so careful to record the whole thing, but I don't think I'm going to play it because it was just so. I will post that clip on TinyKittens though. It was just so drawn out and like dramatic, and it was. I think you guys are not missing anything like amazing except for the explosive tapeworms. It just was a lot of like anxiety, honestly, watching, because it didn't go as it was definitely one of the like worst deliveries of all time. So I don't think anyone wants to commit 16 hours of their day to watch like all of this unfold. But anyway, all right, so be nice to the mods, and be nice to each other. I think the internet outage was a blessing in disguise, honestly, for all of us. Not just for me, but for everyone. The mods, you guys watching, everyone. It just would have been horrible. So, the total time from the first one to the last one, I think, was 16 hours. I think the first one was around 8:30, and the last one was around 12:30. So 8:30 at night, and then 12:30 noon the next day. So, okay, so thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you mods for CCing and answering questions. And I'm going to switch back over to the Harvey's room, and probably in a short amount of time I will try to get Kiwi back into the nest, and then we'll just see how things go. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for all the support, and I'll post some tapeworm pictures and stuff on Tiny Tapeworms on Facebook. Alright. Signing off.